Hi, I'm Luke Poon,
And I'm Megan Coe.
and we're coming to you from Seattle, Washington at the King County Auditor's Office. I'm going to give a real brief intro and then we'll get into the slides. So with this audit, we took a customer perspective, analyzing the experience of customers seeking tax relief and identifying ways that the assessor's office can improve customer experience. Overall, we found that some customers had a difficult time getting tax relief, and stronger systems are needed to meet demand. So to say that 2020 was a challenge for the exemptions program would be an understatement. Three things happened nearly at the same time that made it difficult for them to meet customer needs. And you can see these things on the timeline here. First, changes to state law increased exemption eligibility and thus demand for exemptions. Second, the online platform intended to speed application processing was unstable. And third, the pandemic led to mandatory telework, abruptly changing the work environment and processes. So we make 12 recommendations for improvement in the report, and the assessor's office concurred with all of them. I'll turn it over to Megan to get into a little more detail.
Thanks, Luke. So today we are focusing on, in summary, customer experience represented by this icon and challenges and opportunities at the Department of Assessments represented by this icon. So one of these two icons is on each slide as we go through to show which area we're focusing on. So the key takeaways for customers are, one, that applicants waited months for exemptions decisions, had difficulty reaching county staff, and finally, waited longer than usual to get refunds. Our departmental key takeaways are that the application backlog remains high, that delays were related to new staff and systems, and that while improvements are in progress, it's still unclear when customer experience will improve. As you may already know, the Department of Assessments received 3 times more applications in 2020 than 2019 because the state made more people eligible for tax relief. In 2021, application volume went down a bit, but was still well over prior years. The department's weekly output of exemptions decision, which is a key performance measure for how they're doing, how productive they're being, was flat in 2020 as the department shifted to telework during the pandemic and worked to stabilize its new online system that you saw on the timeline that Luke presented. In 2021, output rose 70% as exemptions used overtime and borrowed staff from other teams to boost output. Because demand spiked in 2020, but increased output did not increase until 2021, people who applied in 2020 actually had to wait the longest for exemptions decisions. 2020 applicants waited a median of 8 months to get a decision. This was well above the department's 3-month target. And then even after the department did increase output in 2021, wait times were still well above these targets. And keep in mind that median wait times do not show the range of customer experience, with some people waiting more than a year to get a decision. As waits grew, customers called to find out what was going on. This is because customers did not get clear information on how long the process would take, and some taxpayers could not afford to pay their taxes without an exemption. Homeowners who do not pay their property taxes on time can even be penalized with fines and interest, so they have a financial stake in getting a quick decision. With more customer calls, there were spikes in both hold times, shown by the dark blue line, and the percentage of unanswered calls, shown by the top red bar. In 2021, 70% of customers had their call go unanswered, either because there were more than 9 people on hold at the exemptions office, or the customer decided to hang up instead of wait. The 30% of callers who did get through waited on hold for an average of 41 minutes. The flood of applications also delayed prior year refunds, keeping money out of taxpayers' pockets. In 2019, the Department of Assessments typically sent refund requests to the Treasury within 6 weeks. However, in 2021, fewer than 10% of refund requests arrived within that target timeframe. So due to all these delays and lack of information, we made recommendations to the assessor to manage customer wait times to meet the expected targets and to create a comprehensive customer service strategy. I want to move now to the backlog of new applications that I mentioned earlier. This is a critical piece that decides how long customers wait for decisions. The backlog is essentially the number of applications the department received in 1 year minus the number that they processed. The assessor told us that if the backlog is at 2,500 applications, which you can see at the dotted line, exemptions decisions should be complete within just 3 months, their target time. That means that by the end of 2021, the backlog was still too high, suggesting that customers will continue to experience long waits in 2022. The backlog is critical, but it does not reflect all of the work that they do at exemptions. For example, state law requires the assessor to request renewals at least once every 6 years to make sure taxpayers are still eligible for the exemption from taxes that they receive. Due to the surge in application volumes, the assessor deferred renewals for 2 years, meaning it didn't conduct any renewals in 2020 and 2021, which increased the number of renewals that are due this year to over 7,500. Of these, nearly half, accounting for 17% of all exemptions recipients, were overdue for renewal. This means that some people could be receiving tax breaks unlawfully. To address these issues, we recommend that the department refine its renewal process to comply with state law and develop a data-driven staffing model that includes all exemptions work to make sure that it can get all of its work done in a timely manner. I'm now going to hand it over to Luke to discuss more of the management challenges and necessary process improvements.
Great, thanks, Megan. So Megan gave you a rundown of what happened from a customer perspective in a couple of years. And I'm going to give you some context as to why the exemptions program had such a hard time dealing with the challenges that it faced. We describe a number of reasons in our report, but essentially the exemptions program's existing management tools didn't stand up to the pressure of increased workload and the influx of new staff. This meant that processes weren't as efficient or as effective as they could be, which translated into risks of errors and longer wait times for customers. So to process the surge of applications, the department added staff. Over the 3 years between 2019 and 2021, they hired a total of 14 application processors. In addition to new staff added, turnover from retirements and resignations shifted the composition of the exemptions team. So as you can see in the 2019 bar, the orange section shows that 50% of the staff had been employed for a year or less. The dark blue at the base of each bar represents the experienced staff members. The team varied in size between 7 processors in 2018 to 14 in 2021. So all these new people created a significant training workload. For reference, staff we interviewed told us that while a person could pick up the basics of application processing in a few months, learning how to handle more complex and specialized financial situations can take years. While the exemption program's prior practice of having a new person shadow an experienced staff member to learn the job worked in person with a smaller workload and fewer trainees, the large number of staff hired in the last few years showed the need for a training program that could handle groups of people in a remote environment. The most tangible reason that the department struggled to handle the increased workload and changing processes was gaps in its management tools. The exemptions program had not updated its process documentation to reflect the shift from paper to electronic processes because the system was still being refined well into 2021. Its training mechanisms required one-on-one observation, which didn't work well with multiple new staff in a remote environment. So in the absence of a documented training program, the relatively few experienced staff pieced together emails and handwritten notes to serve as reference material for new staff and conducted trainings online in addition to tackling the complex applications that only they knew how to process. So we recommend that the department update its process documentation and finalize, document, and implement a comprehensive training program for the exemptions team. So most of the problems that I've described today, the department has known about for some time. Their challenge has been finding the capacity to work on them at the same time as they have had all hands on deck trying to bring down the backlog, improve processes, train staff, and respond to customers. But the department is currently recruiting for 3 lead positions on the exemptions team, focusing on process, standards, and quality assurance. They're also developing documentation for the training program. And finally, a new manager is engaging staff in a strategic planning effort, which is a best practice to mitigate future conflict and establish an effective system of management. So to summarize what Megan and I have told you today, customers had a very hard time getting tax relief advertised by the county. And DOA's management tools did not hold up to the demands of new staff and heavy workload. The backlog of applications is still high in 2022, and while improvements are underway, it remains to be seen when DOA will be able to reduce customer wait times in the new work environment. So we make 12 recommendations in our report, which will be crucial for the department to understand its workload, strengthen exemptions program resilience, and improve customer service to meet county expectations and assist low-income homeowners. So there's a lot more information in our report than we had time to tell you about today. So please take a look at it. It's available on our website, which is there on the last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.